Hola, soy Jenny. I'm a language teacher and I teach full-time online. Prior to that, I was a middle school Spanish teacher in Montreal, where I also got my master's in teaching Spanish as a foreign language. I myself went from A1 to C2, and having helped others go from A1 to B2 or C1, I figured out ways that are smarter, that save you time when you're learning Spanish. First thing I want to talk about is having the right mindset so that you can avoid burnout and so that I can break down your fears. There are 3 typical fears. The first one, making mistakes. Making mistakes shows you immediately what are the areas of improvement. It's also very satisfying when you solve your mistakes and you're making less and less over time. So in a way, mistakes are essential for you to enjoy the process. Secondly, getting made fun of your accent or getting made fun of for your mistakes. The people that tend to make fun of you are people that haven't tried to learn another language. They don't know the struggle or the hustle. And so you should admire yourself for even taking on this endeavor and not listen to those people. Third fear, struggling and feeling frustrated. Struggling is just part of the process. You do have to sacrifice your time, your energy, and sometimes a little bit of your sanity just to get language fluency. Take away this one formula for language fluency. You need interest, effort, and consistency. So figure out why you're interested in learning Spanish, which will fuel your effort over a period of time. And if you keep that up, within a matter of years, you will find yourself speaking fluently. Ask yourself this: how would your life change if you could speak Spanish fluently today? Smarter strategy number 2 is learning things in context. When you learn a new word or a new verb, you don't want to just learn it in isolation. You want to learn it in a whole sentence. See how it is used and in which context you can use it. Why? We can't always translate things directly, and that's why you need to see things in context. Let's take the verb tomar. Tomar un café. Tomar el autobús. Tomar una decisión. And all 3, tomar, means slightly different things. Here's another mistake that beginners often make. When they're talking about the temperature, they might say, estoy caliente. They want to say, I'm hot. But they don't know that estoy caliente actually means, and they should be saying, tengo calor. Qué calor. Tengo calor. That brings us to input. Input from native Spanish content will expose you to words within context. It comes from sources like podcasts, TV shows, books, music, and YouTube videos. Input is so important in the beginning because it trains your ear to understand the tone, the rhythm, the emotion in the words, and how to pronounce them. So it is good to listen to Spanish while you're also reading it to kind of figure out how letters are pronounced. Improve your accent, your intonation, and your rhythm naturally through imitation, just like a child. Input will also help you get familiar with which words often appear together and which words are appropriate according to the context. I always recommend podcasts and TV shows before music. Why? Because podcasts and TV shows build the context around the situation and focus on conversational Spanish, whereas music is more poetic. Consume input that you understand between 70 to 90%. At first, you're not going to understand anything, so I would recommend podcasts for Spanish language learners, where they really start off from mostly English or mostly French, depending on the podcast, and then they help build your Spanish step by step. But as you go, the sweet spot is between 70 to 90%. That sweet spot reduces fatigue and is sustainable. Strategy number 4, make Spanish relevant to things you already care about. Connect it to topics that interest you. For example, if you like cooking, watch a Spanish recipe video on YouTube and write down the grocery list in Spanish. Are you into Harry Potter? Then watch Harry Potter with Latin American dubbing. Do not choose European Spanish dubbing. If you know, you know. Imagine having such a good vocabulary around the topics that you like that you can actually talk to native speakers about the same hobbies and maybe even make friends or find a significant other through those shared hobbies. Speaking of native speakers, you eventually have to put yourself out there more and more and try to speak with native speakers as much as possible. There's no app and no textbook that can give you the same experience as speaking with a native speaker that can give you immediate feedback and can give you cultural corrections. Where can you find native speakers? There's Facebook groups, there's Meetup, there's conversationexchange.com. You can take lessons or classes. If you're looking to move in with roommates, maybe pick Hispanic roommates. If you're looking for a nanny, pick a Hispanic nanny. Strategy number 6, output. It's easy to focus on input, the listening and reading part, because it can become passive and low effort and still feel productive. But we need to really focus on output. Ideally, you should be aiming for a ratio of 3 to 7. 3 hours of input for every 7 hours of output. Now, if you're doing 5 to 5, that's already fantastic, but try to keep it the same or make sure you're doing more output than you are input. So output is speaking and writing. For speaking, speak to yourself. While speaking to yourself, you can also imitate and shadow things that you've heard on TV or from native speakers, and you might even start to find that you're developing an alter ego in Spanish. A quirkier or bolder, more confident or poetic side of you starts to come out. For example, when I speak Spanish, I do feel maybe more funny or sarcastic. I would recommend speaking to yourself in your room, when you're in your car, when you're taking walks in the forest, or walking home alone. And no one is going to judge you if you sound like this guy. Calla aquí que esta noche me pincho mi jefa. Esta noche merengue merengue. Or
¿Y tú qué has hecho para levantar el país? Oye, bueno, pues cosas y no me hagas pensar que estoy comiendo.
From my favorite Spanish sitcom. Comment below if you know which one this is. As for reliable output, you can always participate on online forums or comment on YouTube videos, but a more reliable way is to write letters to yourself, journal in Spanish. The way I start my journal entries is I say, Querida Jenny. So I'm writing a letter to myself in the future. If you're a man, you can say, Querido, and then your name. Querido Tom, Querido John. So when you're writing these letters to yourself, you can talk about your dreams, your introspection, what do you want in life, and always feel like someone is listening because you're writing to your future self, who will look back at it and be very proud of how far you've come. Your friends and family probably don't speak Spanish, and if they ever come across your diary, they won't be able to understand it. My 7th and last is progress checking. That is a real motivator. You want to be regularly checking up on how far you've come, either looking at your old entries of your journal, your old homework, looking at old videos you used to feel was harder, and now you understand 70% of it or more. I would also recommend checking in with a native speaker or someone who speaks Spanish better than you and getting their feedback. Also get experienced, educated feedback from a trained coach or tutor. Remember, it's a marathon and not a sprint. You have to keep going and reminding yourself why you want to do this. In the next video, I'm going to walk you through different platforms and websites where you can connect with native speakers and check that out if you're interested. Muchas gracias y hasta luego.